now, live? All right, don't make me look too crazy. But I guess Anthony and his wife went to Atlanta for his birthday. So that's a nice little treat. We'll pray for their safety because Atlanta traffic is crazy. And I don't know what the traffic like in, what was he, in Kentucky? Right? It's nothing like, I guess he got a little used to it in Chattanooga, but Atlanta traffic, whoo. All right. I'll tell you, this week has been really interesting for me. I did finally get a bus route, and it's the second Tuesday I've been in a minor accident. Right? Yeah, the first one was the bus hit a car, or the car hit the bus. That was Tuesday before. Nobody got hurt, right? The lady pulled out in front of the bus, and he tried to miss her, and she still sideswiped the bus. The second Tuesday, this past Tuesday, a friend of mine was giving me a ride home from work, and a Mack truck overturned the turn, and luckily just hit his mirror and pushed. He had one of them rotating mirrors, so it just kind of just did that. You can see the truck never stopped, kept going. Right? But I thought he was going to hit the car. I mean, trucks you don't get that close to. Right? It was that. I'm like, I mean, that's probably going to look good on Facebook or whatever, me making them faces. But, man, and I guess my go-to thing is say the same word over and over with, like when I was in a bus accident, no, right? And this one was like, it was something. I just kept saying something. Right? It's the same word over and over again. So my go-to is one word 5 times or something. Okay, because I guess I'm so nervous can't talk, but I want to talk. Right? But we're going to go Galatians 2 and verse 15, and it says, "We are Jews by nature and not sinners of the Galatians, knowing that a man is not justified by his works of the law, by the faith of Jesus Christ. Even we believe in Jesus Christ that we may be justified by the faith of Christ and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall not be flesh be justified. But while we seek to be justified by Christ, we ourselves also are found sinners, and therefore Christ is broken in half. So minister of sin. God forbid, for if I build again the things which I destroy, I make myself a transgressor. For I, through the law, am dead to the law, that I might live unto God. I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the flesh of the Son of the God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of God, for it is righteousness come by the law, then Christ is dead in vain." I wanted to read it all because I know sometimes I get tied up on trying to give you the message, and I forget to read the verses, and the verses are more important than the message, because what God has gotten written down in the Bible is always more important. But the gospel proclaims justification by grace through faith, where a lot of times there's religions, and I'm going to get into this a lot here today. There's a lot of places out there saying, if you're saved, you should show your works that you're saved. They should see Christ in you, and by you doing your works, that's how people know you're saved. That's not what it says. That's what it means there. Yes, don't get me wrong. If you love Christ, you're going to do the work of the ministry. You're going to do things for Christ. But that's not how you're saved and stay saved. Once saved, always saved. Right? The people think, oh, you can fall out of the sin of God. I always say it like this. I love the verse where it says, no man will pluck me out of his hand. Well, guess what? I'm a man. If there's something I can do to pluck myself out of then the Bible's wrong. So, I mean, until you can prove me wrong on that one, right, I believe once saved, always saved. Because if somebody can pluck him out of Jesus, he said no man, so I'm good enough of a man to pluck myself out? Wait a minute, he said no man. So I don't see that one. That's why I don't think works Now, don't get me wrong, right? If you love Jesus as much as some people proclaim, the works will show itself, because most of you guys know I like sports. Why? Because it shows itself, right? Most of us know what team people like because it shows itself, right? If we love God and we have God living in us, by faith will come and shine through us, and that's where works. I'm going to get into more works probably in here, and I'll show you why it's justified that Christ by faith and not by works, and we'll get into that a little bit more as I go down, because I love getting ahead of myself. I know I'll do it today. I'm trying not to use my other message. I know that message is a good one. I love it. Right? So stay for the second half of church service tonight. Today, I'm doing both of them. And the second one, I'm preaching to everybody. I always say I'm preaching to myself. Double dose to me, one dose to y'all. Right? So if you don't get nothing today, stay tuned to the second half. I really got that. But being religious is not enough, though. Let me get right there. Verse 15, where it says that, right? It says we're not being Baptist, being Catholic, being a Church of God. That is not going to get you to heaven. See, a lot of people think, well, I've been good my whole life, right? We already know most people get that point that doesn't matter what we do, right, don't get us to heaven. See, that's where people think, because this is what scares me about works. A lot of times, I've seen this happen many times. I've seen pastors' wives. I've seen teachers. And I've seen many different people. And when I say teachers, I mean Christian school teachers get saved. And I'm like, I thought one of the requirements when you got hired, they asked you, were you saved? Get saved. Right? And you're like, wait a minute. Why did it get saved? Because church taught, if you're doing this, you're doing this, and you're doing this, and you're saved. No, you're not. You got to accept Jesus Christ into your heart to be saved. Right? There's not a lot of trickery to it. Right? People want to put, do this, do this, do this, do this. Right? I'll be honest with you. One of the best Christians I ever known. Right? And I do say that if you read the Bible, baptisms are necessary because it says it. Right? He was never baptized. Right? He was scared to death to go underwater. He said, I'll take a shower, but I'm not going underwater. No man's going to hold me down. Right? He was petrified. He went into the baptism twice, tried, and he said, nope, can't do it. He tried. And the pastor took some water, did like that, did the Catholic thing, sprinkled them, right? And said, I know that ain't the greatest thing, but, he was scared. But truly, he was never fully submerged. Do I think he a heathen or something? Because he trusted Jesus Christ. That's where we can't get to heaven by religion only. See, some people say, well, you got to follow the law. You got to follow. If that's the case, we're all done for. We're done. I probably got mad at my wife today. Right? It was the weirdest thing. 30 years, she's never touched my controllers on my driver's side. I was backing up, and my windows were still wet and foggy. I haven't went forward yet. I was backing up. She reached over and scared me. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, you didn't turn on the windshield wiper. I said, I would have got that. Don't touch it. Right? 30 years, she's never touched my controllers. 30 years. I don't know why. We almost had a fight. I kid you not. It almost started a fight this morning. I did zip my mouth. She'll tell you I was quiet most of the trip because I was trying not to talk, because I know me. My talk is going to bury me. Right? So I try to keep my mouth shut. Right? I love you, but you scared me this morning. Right? But she touched the control, and I was like, you've never done that before. And she was just trying to be helpful, and that's what she told me. I was just trying to be helpful. Yeah, but why did you touch my controller? I don't know. I'm digging myself again, but I don't know. I love you. Just don't touch my controllers. Right? Now I just totally messed myself up. But we can get ourselves, I don't even know where I was going with that. All right. Being religious is not enough. We are justified by grace through faith. Again, here's where many so-called Christians differ from the Bible. Some say, do good, believe, and you shall find salvation. But Paul writes and said that we must believe first, and only will God give us the salvation and change to glorify him. So only God's going to change us. A lot of them, see, and that's where some religions is be good and you're going to get saved. A lot of times I see people in the valley get saved quicker than the people on the mountaintop. You could do. I see good people do a lot of good, never come to Christ because everything's good. You know, if you got money, you got success, and you got all, it's because Christ has allowed you to have that. But a lot of people's like, see what I done? See what I done? They take the credit of it and don't realize that Jesus Christ done it for them, right? Because you take away somebody's voice that's a singer, their career is over with. But guess what? God bless you with that voice and that ability, and it could be over with in a second, right? I've seen so many different musicians, singers get in a car accident and can't sing again. And then they find Christ, and then God gave them back the voice. I know the music ain't the best, but I believe, I don't want to say his music. There's a guy that used to, I don't want to go, Def Leppard. I don't know if you remember, one of the drummers lost an arm. I believe he found Christ. I mean, I know his music don't show it, right, or nothing like that. But God let him come back and play with one arm. I got to see him play with one arm. He does better than me with two arms. A lot better. Right? I mean, most of it's with his feet now, and then he still does the arm. Like one of the legs are kind of doing what the other arm used to do. And I'm like, wow. And that blew me away. One of the Jan and Dean, some of you guys might know who that is. The song Dead Man's Curve. That's actually a true thing. One of the guys went off the curb and it was in an accident. I got to see him about 10, well, no, probably 20 years ago. I don't know if he's still alive. I mean, I hate to say it like that. I got to see him in a concert, but he couldn't sing his own parts. Somebody else had to sing it because the accident did take a toll over the years on him, right? And the only song he actually sung was the Dead Man's Curve, right? But God blessed him with his voice. God could take something away from you that he's blessed us because you're not using it for him. And so we got to remember, through faith, God given us, right? A lot of us got more faith in ourselves than we do God, right? Because that's our old saying, the chair, right? I hate to say it, we got more faith in these pews than we do God. Because none of y'all shook them pews and made sure they were going to hold you. You sat right down, right? But how many times we got that much faith in God saying, I know you're going to take care of it and leave it alone, right? A lot of us, our faith is that, because I'll be honest with you, I'll sit on that pew before I'll sit on that, right? But that's the way we do our religion is, I'll do this right here, God, but that looks a little sketchy. Right? I'm not going to do that for you, God, because I'm not that person. I'm not going to get up there and preach like Brother Joe does. You know how silly he looks up there with that shine off the camera, right, and everything. Right? I'm not going to do that. I used to be that guy. I'm not going to do that, right? But God says, I need you, right, to do it. And, you know, it might be what God needed, or it's what God wanted me to do to step out by faith. I tell you, I know Pastor Rich has been through it. I've been through it, right? Is when we're sitting on our hands, God is like, you know what? I need you to do this. And it's like, I don't know if I can do that, God. I know you don't want me to do that. And then we step out and get off our hands, doors just open up, and it's like, should have been sitting on my hands that long, you know. A lot of times God wants you to do simple things, right? I know we're pushing Lee into singing, right? And I know he don't like me talking about his singing, but he don't realize how good of a voice he's got, right? Man, I was bragging about you this week to a parent about when you, because he actually knows you. It's her best friend's dad, Justin. Right? He rides on, but he was. Oh, he told you that I talked about. I said you guys hear that Beulah Land one. He said, because he said he's got them high pitches. I said, he's always had them high. That Bueller, man, I don't know where you got that from. But, man, you missed it last week. Yeah, Bueller, man, I was like, woo, man. So you got to get that country thing out of you, or that Great Balls of Fire song out of you, but use it for the Lord. But let me keep going. No one will ever justify by works. Here is a couple of ones. You can go to I'm not going to make you go to Revelations 20:12 through 15, but in this passage, John gives a glimpse of the final judgment where God gave everyone not redeemed by his son, Christ, and he basically judges them. Their works all were done in shame. If you ever go read that Revelation 20:12 through 15, basically the works were all just burnt to ashes, gone, nothing there. Because our works ain't going to get us into heaven. It's what we trust in Jesus Christ. Now, if I do anything in Jesus' name now, right, because I've been saved, that won't be burnt in the fire. But if I'm doing works in Joe's name, that's all going to get burnt up. Anytime I try to do a lesson or a Bible story or thing, and I think, man, I did a good job, that all gets burnt up. And you say, but you're saved because I didn't do it to justify God. I did it to justify Joe Quimby. When I start doing for me, it don't hold water. It don't hold. It just gone, right? But when I start studying these and I say, God, you need to use me. Fill me up as a vessel so I can pour out into other one. Just keep pouring, right? Once it overflows, let it overflow to other one. That's why I always say I try to pour into myself so that I can overflow and give it to you guys. If nothing, at least my vessel got filled because I've always preached to myself first. These verses here, because I'm actually talking to a preacher in Cleveland about certain things. He's a Church of God, and I'm talking to him about his faith. He's talking about we're not arguing, because if you start arguing about Christ, you're both idiots. Right? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't argue about any other religion to another person because you don't know who's the fool is. Right? But we talk. I try to just have discussion. I said, well, this is what the Bible says. Right? And then he looks at me like, okay. And he tries to show me. I'm like, no, go up a verse ahead or behind, and you can see that don't hold water. That's okay. Bible Sunday school class like this, it's okay. You go, hey, there's nothing wrong with having a discussion. God wants you to understand the Bible. God, if you're reading the Bible, Pastor has no problem. I've done it a couple of times. Pastor, I was reading this. Do you know what that 100% means there? Right? And he's like, let me read it because I really don't know it that well, because I've done that a couple times. The pastors hit a piece of Bible that they didn't know. Right? And one thing I don't like, and my wife will tell you, if I call you and I have a problem, unless then I know, like Russ, if I say, hey, I cut my finger, how do I stop? He's like, throw a Band-Aid on it. Okay. Right? Something like that, I'm okay with it. But if I call you and it's something that I kind of have a feeling that you might not know and you're going to quick fix it, right, and it's not the right way, I get mad at that. I'd rather you take time and say, let me look into that and I'll come back to an answer. I love pastors that do that. Right? Only thing I hate is when you say that and 6 months later and I'm still going, I guess he forgot. I mean, I've had that too. Right? Don't get me wrong, pastors are great. Sometimes you got to go back to them and remind them. Definitely remind Joe, because my wife will tell you, I can't remember to pick up my own laundry in the morning. Right? Yeah, she groaned because she knows that one. I have an extra pillow on the bed because I have my pillow that don't match nothing, so I have to put it away in the morning. She gets mad when I leave it. She's like, I had to put your pillow away. And I'm like, yeah, but it, but, yeah, well, I have my, yeah, because yeah, that's side of the point. She don't like it on her mismatched bed. She's like, that don't go together. Because she keeps the house like icicles, and I have an extra blanket because I freeze to death. And it took her 30 years, and I think I pick up half the week now. So another 30 years, I might do it for the whole week. Sorry, babe. She's trying to get me right, but God got to give me 900 years before she can get it right. So I might live a long time. Okay, All right, sin present does not contradict to the gospel of Christ. Verse 17 through 19, and we can look at that again. But if while we seek to be justified by Christ, we ourselves also are found sinners, and therefore the master of sin, God forbid. For if I abide again the things which I destroy, I make myself a transgressor. Sin, and it says, because right here, there's a couple of parts here, and I want to make sure I get it right. Sin is out of our lives once we get saved, right? Yeah. No. Yes. No. Okay. We get saved, it's washed away, it's forgiven. Christ has forgotten it, right? But what happens, right, with sin, right? We've been washed away of it. Now God lives in our heart, right? What are we doing, right? Are we abiding by God, or are we abiding by ourselves? When that sin pures up again, are we going to go ahead and take it and bring it back, or are we going to let it go? And see, and people said, oh, if you're a Christian, you wouldn't sin. No, I'm just like these guys in the Bible. I'm definitely not as good as half these guys in this Bible, right? More than that, except the ones that died and went to hell, because I'm saved by Jesus Christ. So I'm better than them, but not these other ones. But I'm telling you, if we take that sin and we receive it, you go, but if God lives there, no, God abides there. He's allowing you to have free choice. See, our problem is we want to blame Satan. We want to blame the world. We want to blame everybody else for our problems, but we're the ultimate choice of our sin. And right here it says, sin is a choice, not a necessary. We don't have to sin. Because last night, my wife couldn't finish her food, and she's like, you want it, Joe? And I was already full. Right? But I'm like, man, that was good. So guess what Joe did? Joe finished her plate. I overate. Was that a sin? Yep. Right? I shouldn't have done. I was hurting. I was like, man, I shouldn't have ate that. But I had a choice. I could have let it go, or I could eat it. It was a choice. It wasn't a necessary. I already ate. I already had my nutrition for the day. I didn't need that extra one. I chose, and that's what we do with sin. Right? It's just a little bit of sin. I'm choosing, because you know what somebody always hits me with? And I'll be honest with you, I get mad because I know they're somewhat right, and they could be 100% right, is when they hit you with something, and you're like, but it's just, and you're trying to justify, and I'm worse one. How many of us watch TV? I'm a big TV fan. I love my TV, but how many times they got cuss words on it? Ooh. Oh, I don't watch them shows. Name a show that don't have a cuss word on it, right? But we're allowing it in, right? Here's another one, right? And I have no issues with it. I grew up doing it. I'll still probably do it, right? Here's another one is when I love the Left Behind movies, right? I like a lot of them movies like that, them Christian movies and everything. And he said, are they 100%? I said, well, sometimes he said, you're wrong for watching it then because you're teaching your kids. And I'm like, no, but he's right. And you know, he's right. And I get mad, and that's the way we do it as Christians. When somebody's right, we're ready to throw them under the bus because they're right. Because we're mad because we do that, right? I'm going to still watch Left Behind probably. I'm going to still watch Flywheel and all these other ones, Fireproof, Facing the Giants, Fate Like Potatoes. I think I got every CD that I just named. Right? I tried to watch one the other day, but my PlayStation wouldn't play it. Right? It's still in the PlayStation. Right? For some reason, not PlayStation, I got an Xbox. Right? I haven't updated in a long time. I probably I can't spend $500 on a video game. I'm just a cheapskate. I'll wait till somebody getting rid of it for $100 and I'll buy it then. Right? So it'll be another 5 years. But, so, right there is what, and I'll tell you, as Christians, that's where we're always justifying our sin, because it's only, it's not, if it's against the Bible, yeah, it's sin, right? And I know somebody's going to probably get on Facebook today and bash me in for this message because I said that, but it's so true that we all, I'm guilty. Like I said, I preached to myself. When I seen this, I was like, yeah, I do justify a lot of my sin. You know, you don't pay attention to it, You know, I mean, this week I pick up some kids from bad neighborhoods, parents out there putting them on the bus. I can tell their lifestyle by just looking at them. But could I really? Am I judging them? Am I looking at them wrongly? What am I doing exactly? I never put the kids down because I know circumstance ain't the kids' fault. But I could see the lifestyle that they live where they're at. And it's like, yeah, drug issues, other problems, I can just see it. And so the kids are honest because there's another girl that lived down the street that said, I don't like that person because he beat this person. And it was a man beating a woman. And I'm like, oh, shh, don't tell that guy. Kids will tell you everything. At my route, I do a high school and I do an elementary. And my elementary kids are honest. They tell me everything. And I'm like, oh. I try not to talk to them as much. But elementary kids are worse than Brother Joe. They like to talk. I got one girl that don't got an inside voice. And I yell at her all day long. And I won't say her name, but I keep saying, hey, you, shh, inside, hey, shh. I said, I'm going to have to write you up. Because then when she laughs, it sounds like a kid got ran over by a goat or something like that. Or a goat got ran over by a car. And I said kid, I meant to say goat, but got ran, because it's like, yeah. And it's like, whoa, what is that? And I'm like, tone it down, right? So, I'm already over, but I'm preaching today. I'm going to do a short message this afternoon, hopefully. All right? So we live our lives only by faith. Our death to sin is fact. Paul said without qualification, he, as a believer, was crucified with Christ. This is a statement of fact, not of feeling. So our sin was crucified with Christ. So when we accepted Christ, when Christ was crucified, our sins were crucified. So our sins are already forgiven, right? And you're like, well, does that give me the right to sin all the time? No, because you're losing rewards in heaven, right? And you shouldn't openly sin because you're not showing Christ in you, right? God is abiding in you. He sees everything. And that's one thing that always bothers me. How many times you done something wrong, right? And you immediately felt guilty because you knew Christ was right there watching you. Right? Been there, done that. Right? Let me wrap it up. It says, all other ways ignoring true grace. All other ways ignoring the true grace. In verse 21, Paul uses the Greek word, where's 21? It would translate, I don't even see where he had that. But the term carries an idea of setting something aside, of making something have no effect. It's like throwing your umbrella away when you're outside in a rainstorm. My wife's done that because it broke on her. I guess a good umbrella, it means. Or like removing an engine from a car. Paul warns the Galatians here that if they choose to follow the false teachers and attempt to grow spiritually by doing good things, they set aside or frustrate or nullify the grace of God. And that's where we got to realize if we follow false, and that's where it goes back to the beginning of this, because this is a part 2, right? We go back to the beginning where they were following the false teachers. If you follow the false teachers, you're going to nullify the good works and the good things that you've done for Christ. That's like me. If I got up here and false teached, right, I'm going to nullify even preaching today. And that's why I hope not to do. That's why I try to read the messages more. I'm trying to use the Bible more because that's where God is prevalence. Hey, I try to use a big word. That's where God's most important. There we go. All right. I'll go ahead and let you guys have like a 20-minute break. We're going to start up in chapter 3. We're almost halfway done now. It only took me 4 months. All right.